Good morning and welcome to the Oasis Center for Spiritual Living, where we come together as one, providing spiritual tools for daily living. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Reverend Tucker. I am the senior minister here at the Oasis, and I'm going to introduce you to this lovely team that God has provided for me. First is my beloved assistant, Faith. Faith has been my assistant since she was born. She used to come and help me on the podium. I would sit her on the podium when I would do the announcements. And later on, she got to where she could walk. She was handing out affirmation cards at the end. And now she's my official assistant and 17, almost 18. You're getting there. You're almost there. I know, right? And she's going to be our soloist for the day. So we have a really special song for you, one we haven't done before. So I'm kind of excited about it. And thank you, Faith, for being here.
Thank you.
And my partner in crime, the great and powerful, the wise and powerful Oz, great and powerful Oz. He's my first baby practitioner, took all of his training with me except for one class I think he took at Mile High, and then was my board president for many, many years. And then he moved off to Florida, and now he's in Wisconsin for the summer. And so he's joining us live from there. He'll be doing the praying us in and praying us out. And he's available at the end for our 1-minute miracle, which I'll talk about later. But thank you for being here, Oz. We really appreciate you. And then our topic today is what you resist persists. So we're going to be talking about resistance and have the effect that has on our lives, because so many of us are in resistance to so much. Change is hard, right? Well, it's not hard. It's actually very easy. It's just not comfortable. Anyway, let's see. Say hi, hello, good morning, however you want to greet us if you're here. If I was in a facility, I could look out and see you, and can't do that through the software. So we really appreciate it when you reach out and say hi. Faith will be the one answering you. And I always check later to make sure that, there isn't something else I need to add. But for the most part, she knows me better than I know myself. And then if you'd like to do a watch party, there's a watch party button. It's a great way for your friends to know what kind of messages they can receive coming here on Sunday morning. I know there's 1,000 things you could be doing on a Sunday morning, and we're really blessed to have you here with us. So we're very grateful that you're here. Close your eyes if that feels comfortable. Allow the service to uplift and inspire you as we move into our centering song.
Surely the presence of God is in this place. I can feel the mighty power and the grace. I can feel the rush of angels' wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of God is in this place. Surely the presence of God is in this place. I can feel the mighty power and the grace. I can feel the rush of angels' wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of God is in this place.
The presence of God right here, right now, for God is all there is. We think of the universe of religious science, we think of existence, we think of eternity, we think of all things all at once, all time, all space, all of existence, all wrapped up in that one thing that we call God. So it's not some white bearded guy in the sky or sitting at a desk in Milwaukee, although there is no place that it's not, so it must be here too. And it's right there where you are right now. For God is everywhere and in everything, moving and expressing itself in manifold ways, billions of ways. All right now, all for the future, all for the past. It's all one thing. And knowing that we're one in that thing, we know that there's a resonance and there is a perfection to all that is and all that can be. And we let that perfection unroll through our service and through all things, for we know it is good. And I know that this is very good, and I let this just be perfect right now. And because it is, and it always will be, I give great thanks, and I let it be so. And so it is.
So it is. Thank you, Oz. So this next song is by Reverend Fairy Elaine Silver. We are all one. Sing along if you know the words. Sing it loud and sing it proud, because you certainly can't bother anybody. If you don't know the words, get used to the words. They're so good. It's like a great meme to have in your life. We are all one.
We are all one. We are all one. We are all one in it. I hear it and know it, my being. Spirit is all I am seeing. For God is all there is. Grateful am I to be living, open to what I have seen, honoring what I've been given, sharing now what I believe. I remember the oneness around me. I surrender to infinite light, knowing the love that's surrounding me is within me by day and night. And we are all one. We are all one. We are all one in it. Yes, we are all one. We are all one. We are all one in it.
Oh, we are all one. If you're here, please say hi, good morning, hello, however you'd like to greet us. Let us know you're here. And also, if you like something that I say or that Faith sings, use that thumbs up button. If you really love something that happens, there's the little heart. We love to get love. And if something that either I say or she sings hits you as really, really powerful, there's that wow button. Lets us know that we're on track, as we're only here for God, right? So, okay. All right. So without further ado, we are going to bring up Faith to do I Release and I Let Go. One of the agape favorites.
I release and I let go. I let my spirit run my life, and my arms are open wide. Yes, I'm all in for God. No more struggle, no more strife. I know faith, I see the light. I let go in the spirit. Yes, I'm all in for God. I release and I let go. I let the spirit run my life, and my open wide. Yes, I'm all in for God. No more struggle, no more strife. Let my faith I've seen the light. God, peace and the spirit. Yes, I'm all in for God. I release and I let go. Let the spirit run my life. And my arms are open wide. Yes, I'm all in for God. No more struggle and no more strife. With my faith, I've seen the light. I release and let spirit. Yes, I'm all in for God.
Thank you, Faith. That was great. I love that song. It just lifts my spirits up really high. It's a great way. Ricky Byers Beckwith. That's a lot. Thank you. Oh, goodness gracious. All right. So, my life right now is so full of change. So many things are changing in my life, just like overnight. So I wanted to talk a little bit about our reaction to change, because there's change that we implement, like we decide to get married, and yes, we're going to grieve our singleness, things that we wouldn't do as a couple that we might do if we were still single. So there's change that we implement, and then there's change that implements itself. And it appears as if someone outside of ourselves is pushing that change. But as I've talked about before, our subjective mind goes on autopilot and calls us to change. And a lot of times we don't have conscious input into it. And it always looks like I said, there's something outside of us that is driving that change. For instance, in my life right now, the person who holds the lease on our office where I have my other business died. And so we're scrambling. We're trying to figure out how we're going to maintain our space. For me, if I try to move my machine, it's like $20,000. So we're working with the landlord, but it just sort of, it's so interesting because it's so sudden. And we start to think about like, oh my God, what can I do to change this? Well, you can't. Once something is set in motion, so to speak, through our subjective mind, there's really not a lot you can do to make it go back to, like, I can't bring her back from the dead. I mean, honestly. And so I started looking at what was going on inside of me, and what was going on inside of me was a bunch of a resistance to the change. For instance, we have people put on these little wraps and sometimes they have to go to the bathroom before they get in the machine, and they go to the bathroom through the lobby. Well, if the landlord is going to rent these spaces, then there's going to be probably businessmen in there. So the clients are not going to be able to do that anymore. They're going to have to go to the bathroom first and then put on the little wrap, and try not to leave our office with that wrap on. Things like that. I mean, it seems silly, but there is some resistance to that. Like, I would like to see us with all wellness practitioners like we've had in the past, but that's not probably going to happen. And what that means in terms of your life in particular is that you look around you and there's all kinds of changes that happen. Perhaps you've lost your job. Perhaps someone is going to jail or prison or something like that. You can't change the facts of it. What you can do is change your reaction to it, because our reaction right away is resistance. And remember the Borg, resistance is futile. And I had a bad reaction to that when I first heard them say that. And then I thought about it, and it's really true, actually. Resistance is futile because there isn't anything you can do to change anything. When you're in resistance, all you're doing is upsetting yourself. You're not changing the circumstances by being in resistance. All you're doing is creating more pain for yourself. Ram Dass says, pain is mandatory, but suffering is optional. And that's really true. Like, the pain of growth happens when things change. That happens. And that's not something you can do something about. But you don't have to wallow in it and suffer. And I think that's where we get into this like resistance place, where we begin to suffer because we are so in resistance to the change that's happening. I know, like, the people who are resisting mask wearing and resisting vaccines and that kind of thing, yes, they're opening themselves up for getting COVID. But the other part of that is they're so far in reaction, they're emotionally attached to it, that they're actually suffering. They feel like their rights are being violated. They feel like, all of those emotions that they have, the anger, the fear, all of that is a form of suffering. The world has moved on. The world has changed. I mean, it's so weird. Like, I went into the grocery store the other day, and the one employee and me were the only ones in the entire grocery store wearing a mask. And I got to tell you, with my husband having 30% lung capacity, I always wear a mask when I'm out in public. But I had to stop and like think about how things have changed. Like, before, it never occurred to you to wear a mask when you went into the grocery store before COVID. Before COVID, we didn't think about going to a restaurant and sitting in there. I went into a restaurant for the first time, actually in a restaurant, the other day with my sister, and had lunch. And it was such a weird experience. I kept my mask on except for eating. Nobody else in there was wearing a mask. So it's just there's a difference now to us. Actually, what we have to think about what we're doing every moment of every day. It's kind of crazy. What we took for granted before was, yeah, let's go to a restaurant. Yeah, sure, let's go. Walk in, get your table, eat your food, laugh, and, talk very loudly. And these days, you have to think about that before you actually go in. You have to think about preparing for how you're going to handle it. You have to think about it while you're there. Let's not laugh and be too loud speaking because, we're spreading germs or possibly spreading germs, even if we're vaccinated. So, when I look around at the changes that have happened from this COVID, not to mention the financial changes for everybody, but all these restaurants have gone down. There's probably 5 or 6 in my neighborhood alone that I look and it's like, oh my God, another one died. And I think about, we have just gotten so accustomed to having our favorite restaurant around. And it just being there for us. Like, we've been searching for the best Italian place, because Mama Roma's shut down because of COVID. And nothing compares to Mama Roma. We keep trying, but we don't like the food. And I know there's a Mexican place over here that closed down. I never really liked their food, so I'm not as unhappy about that one. But, it's just interesting when you look around and you see the differences in the places you could always count on, or just knowing that was always there, that you could go there anytime you wanted to. Not anymore. Even the menus at places have changed. Like Mad Greens, I've had to adapt. I'm pretty picky about my food. And so I have this one salad that I like to get, Edgar Allan Poe, and it has like fruit and nuts and blue cheese. But I always got it with the steak. Well, they're no longer offering the steak as of, I don't know why COVID affected that, but they're not offering steak. So I can either have chicken with it, which I don't like, or I can have fish with it, which I don't really like on there. And so I just get it plain. And then I've adapted by going out and buying myself steak and and cubing it up to have in my salads. We have to learn to adapt, because while we're in resistance, we're not adapting. I don't want you to do this if you have an injury in your wrist, but I like to have you have a physical experience of what I'm saying, just to get an idea of what it does. So I'm going to ask you again, if you have a problem with your wrist or your arm or your hand, please don't do this. But if you don't, I'm going to ask you to take your arm like this, take your other hand, pull your fingers down to your shoulder. Okay. Notice now, see, mine is touching my shoulder. I'm not experiencing any pain. If you experience any pain at all, stop, please. And now I want you to close your eyes and relax and kind of tickle your arm a little bit. Get it to relax. Get it to totally relax. Take some deep breaths in. Hold and release. And now, without opening your eyes, take that hand and fold it backwards more. Now I want you to open your eyes and see how much further you come. See what I did, I just barely was touching my shoulder. Now you can see my fingers are clear down here. Because I wasn't in resistance. What happens when we resist is we suffer. You can release your arm. What happens is when we're in resistance, we're not flexible. And that struggle that we go through against change will keep us from being able to adapt. And if we don't adapt, it causes stress in the body. And dis-ease comes about because we are stressed out, because our bodies are experiencing stress levels that are too much for our body to handle. And it's really important for us to be able to adapt. I mean, as a human race, we have been able to adapt to all kinds of things. When you think about, skin color, for example, or you think about eye color, or that kind of thing, what it is an adaptation that we have, like, all in the very beginning, like prehistoric times, everybody had brown hair, brown eyes. You see, it was like that. And as we spread into different regions, we ended up with darker skin, or we ended up with lighter skin, or we ended up with lighter eyes, or we ended up with, darker hair or lighter hair, or, something like that. So when you think about that, we are an adaptive creature. The only thing that keeps us from that is our fear. What are we afraid of with change? I know I became afraid at some point of just being myself. For a long, long time, I was really afraid of being myself. And I had to adapt to being myself no matter what I'm doing. Like Dr. Fred, one of my mentor ministers, Dr. Fred Vogt, used to say, I'm the same person on the pulpit as I am out on the street. You will never see a different me. And so I have strived for that as a minister, to be who I am, whether I'm with family, I'm with friends, I'm here sitting with you, I'm, in the grocery store buying goods. I try to be that same person all the time. And that's something that comes from a very authentic place in me, because our fear is what keeps us from being authentic. Our resistance to adapting to our environment keeps us from being authentically ourselves. That adaptation to circumstances allows us to more authentically be who we are. I know a few months ago we talked about jumping to center is a perfect example. If I'm doing my meditations and I'm doing my prayer work and I'm doing all of the things that spiritually feed me, which I hope this is one of them, coming to our service is one of them. But if we're keeping up our spiritual practice on a daily basis, then when we're in crisis, when someone's in the hospital, or there's been an accident, or something awful happens, we can jump to center right away, because it's a feeling that our psyche, our soul, our spirit, and our body understands. It's been there before, right? So it's really easy to tap into that. If, on the other hand, we're not doing all of that, then it's a much harder process to get to the adaptation of that new stress level. And, there's ways of dealing with stress. I'm not saying, you have to meditate, you have to pray. I think that that's essential. I do. And I encourage everyone to do it. But you can exercise. That's one way to relieve stress. But for me, I spend about an hour every day in meditation and prayer. And I found that when I'm really consistent about doing that things of this world do not affect me the same way. I don't feel like I am under it, so to speak, that everything has turned upside down on me. I used to read these books from Stephen King. There was one called The Gunslinger. I don't know if you remember that or if you read that. But he talks about the world has moved on, and this gunslinger is like going back and forth between two worlds. And in one world, everything's advanced, and in another world, everything went backwards. And he keeps talking about, and the world has moved on. And truly, that's how it feels. This post-COVID world feels like the world has moved on. Everything is different now, and we can adapt to it. We can allow it to sort of be. There's no good or bad. We don't get into judgment about good or bad. It just is. And when you can accept that something it just is, then you're better able to cope with it. As long as you're judging it as bad, you're having a reaction, and that reaction is resistance. You're pulling this back and you're struggling with it, right? And you're creating suffering for yourself and for those around you. I mean, nobody's happy if mama ain't happy, right? At least I say that around here all the time. But nobody can be happy around someone else who is miserable all the time. And so it's up to us, not only for ourselves, but for all of those around us, to be able to maintain just a modicum of adaptation and release. Surrender, if you will. Now, I'm not talking about giving up. Please understand, there's a big difference between giving up and surrendering. Giving up is a victim stance, like, I give up. When we surrender, it's like, I surrender. You see, surrendering is acknowledging that you cannot change something. It's the acknowledgement that you're strong enough to handle it. It's so funny. I was talking to my injection nurse the other day, and she said, I hate it when people say God doesn't give you more than you can handle. And I said, yeah, the comeback to that is, I just wish God didn't trust me quite so much. But the truth is, we can handle everything that's thrown at us. It's how we cope with it. It's how we deal with it. It's our reactions to it. And if we are being conscious of how we're reacting, we have the ability to change those feelings, like on the spot. And it's that adaptation, it's that ability to surrender into the process that allows us to feel better about what's happening around us. The change happened because there was something in us that needed a change. Truly. Or it wouldn't have happened. Collectively, I guess we all needed things to change. So COVID-19 came about and created that change for the whole world. If it's in our awareness, it's ours. It's otherwise none of us would be at the effect of this. So what's really true is that if we surrender into the situation, the acceptance that this is just it just is. It's not good, it's not bad, it just is. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't celebrate the good stuff. Obviously, we want to, and be grateful for it, and thank God for it. But if I'm attached to it being good, or I'm attached to it being bad, that attachment alone is going to keep me from enjoying my life, because I'm going to be attached to the outcome of anything. A while back, we talked about attachment what was it? Involvement, attachment. I had a chart. Maybe I still have the chart. Let me look. I might have actually still have the chart. And what, yeah, I do. Ha ha. Yeah. So you look at these quadrants here. This is from, sure, I'm going to have to like think about it. It'll come to me. Anyway, and you look at how high is the attachment and how high is the involvement. So in this quadrant here, this top left one, you have very high attachment but very low involvement. And that means you've pretty much given up. You've pretty much said, I'm really attached to the outcome here, but why bother doing anything? And people do that in their jobs sometimes. You know, they feel like they don't have a voice. So right away they go into that high attachment, low involvement state of mind. And then over here on the right top, you have, this is the red zone. That's why I made it red. It's the criticism quadrant where you have high involvement and high attachment. But this is the bully tyrant, right? This is where I am so attached to the outcome that I'm going to push through it. I'm going to make everybody do everything that I need them to do to get to that outcome, right? Then down here in the low, this low one over here, you have low involvement and low attachment. And this is the person who has truly already given up. They just don't care about anything. It's so what? What do I care? Hopelessness, you see? Kind of that murky brown color. And then in the bottom right here, you have the green zone. And that's the effectiveness quadrant. You have very high involvement, meaning I'm willing to do whatever it takes, but I'm not attached to the outcome. Our attachment is what keeps us in suffering. Our attachment is what keeps us from surrendering to the process. Our attachment is what keeps us from being able to go with the flow and end up on the other side of this unscathed by the change, right? That's the maximum fulfillment quadrant. And, you know, the truth is, God doesn't change up on us. One of the things that we are so afraid of is that, you know, if I lose my job, for example, if I lose my job, oh my God, I'll never find another job, right? God wouldn't put us in a situation that we wouldn't be able to, prosper in, right? I remember one time I got laid off. It was really funny. And what was the name of the movie? The series, gosh, Star Wars. The very first Star Wars came out that week. And so we packed up my office. It was really interesting because the guy is like apologizing profusely. And I'm like, don't feel bad. It's okay. I needed to leave. I had a really good awareness that I needed to leave. And I wasn't leaving on my own. So the universe is like, okay, you need to leave. Your subjective, mind is saying new experience needed here. And so we packed up my stuff and we went to the movie. And I'm standing in line. I'm like, I don't know why, but I'm not upset by this at all. I know I'll find another job. I know I'll be okay. There have been other times where something like that has happened where I start to panic a little bit and I just remind myself, I've always been okay. I've always found another job. I've always been able to handle this. I've always been able to prosper from it. And I have to keep reminding myself of that because it is scary. When you let go of one job and you don't have another one, it's scary. I know Faith went through a little bit of that when she had to quit my office and she hadn't found a job yet. And it was kind of scary for her. But I kept telling her, you'll be fine. You're going to find a job. It'll be okay. Didn't I? Yeah. So that's the thing. And illness is another thing. This too shall pass. And I know because I have Hashimoto's, it's not a deadly disease like some things. My friend died of stage 4 breast cancer, but that's deadly. But when we're looking at illness, it's the same thing. This too shall pass. And if you can surrender into the process, whatever that process is, if you can surrender into the process and not struggle and not fight against it, you'll be better off. Yes, you want to fight for your life. Yes, you want to do all the things. You want to have high involvement. You want to take care of going to the right doctor, getting the right prescriptions, or you need to, use a Rife machine or whatever it is you need to do to get back to a place of stasis. Yes, I agree with that. That's high involvement. But low attachment means I'm not attached to how that looks. Like this one drug is going to take care of it, or this one doctor is the only one who can help me, or this is what it looks like when I'm on the other side of this. And I'm going to fight like hell to make sure that happens. You see, that's the difference. That's low attachment, but very high involvement. And that's really where we want to be in everything that we do. If we're in a relationship and the relationship ends, that fear of being alone is very powerful. But when you recognize that God, if you're made of God, okay, let's put it that way. We believe that we are made of God stuff, right? So God can't leave us. God cannot be absent from our being. If that's so, then we're never alone, right? God is always there. So we are not ever alone. We are just experiencing the human aloneness of that other person not being there. But the more we can focus on, there will be, there's always somebody for us. I just don't believe that there's only one person in the universe for me, right, for the rest of my life. I don't believe that's true. I believe that in our evolutionary state, all the changes that we adapt to, we come to an evolution where a different type of person is the right person. Because here's what happens. Most of the time in a relationship, we have like issues, right? And our issues match with their issues, just like a hand in glove, right? And it's meshed together there, and we get real attached to it. And then when they pull that out, then we have all these gaps, and we're trying to figure out what to do with all that. Well, the truth is that once we've grown in our evolution, once we have our consciousness has shifted to the next level, our issues will be different, and the person we will attract, their issues will be different. And as you grow and as you get to that stage, you will find the perfect mate who it isn't based on issues. It is now based on partnership. It is based on collective experiences that we come together and we add to each other's lives, and we enjoy each other, and we support each other through the hard times, and we love each other through the good times, you see. I believe that's really the process. And it plays out, whether we're talking about love or money or health, it always plays out where if you're in a resistance to the change that's happening, you are going to suffer. Pain is mandatory, suffering is not. And so that's where I get to with this, resistance is futile. That's where I get to where, what you resist persists. Our founder, Dr. Ernest Holmes, said, if you continue to think the way you're thinking and expect a different change, it's never going to happen. And there's a saying out there that says, doing the same thing all the time, expecting a different result is insanity. That's the definition of insanity. And it's kind of true, because if I am in resistance to the change that's happening and I fight it and I fight it and I fight it, but I'm expecting a different result, I'm never going to get that result. And I'm going to be disappointed because my expectation is going to be of a certain result, right? If I'm highly involved in the process, meaning I'm doing everything I can to make this a better experience for myself, if I'm doing that at a high involvement level, but I'm not attached to the outcome of how it actually looks, feels, or sounds like, if I'm not attached to that, if I'm willing to be in whatever that is, whatever the experience is, willing to surrender to the process, then I will have the outcome that is in the highest and best for me. I know that in relationships in particular, they're so difficult because when they end, it feels like the end of the world to us. And that's not really true. It's the end of that era. It's the end of that situation. Just like a job experience. When that job experience ends, it's the end of an era. It is not the end of the world. There is always another experience waiting to happen, waiting to be fulfilled within us. Because God is the urge for our soul to continue that evolutionary process. And as long as we are willing to heed that call, as long as we are willing to succumb or surrender to that urge within us that wants a greater, bigger, better experience for us, when we're ready to surrender to that, then we will have that better experience. And it doesn't have to be, like we talk about joy. Joy isn't one of those things like, oh my God, I'm in joy. Joy is being able to find little happiness things along the path. Because when we're in resistance, we can't find those. They're very hard to come by. But when we surrender, not give up, but surrender, when we surrender to the process, when we are willing to accept that this is what is, not good, not bad, just is, that's when we find our joy. Little things become very joyful for us. The opening of a flower, the seeding of a tree, the changing of the colors in autumn. We're not afraid of that change. Well, some of us. I don't like it when winter comes, but so I always have this little hesitation, like, oh no, that means the winter's coming. But I'm not afraid of that change. You see? And that's how we need to be in life, whatever that change is. Whether it's self-directed, like I said, we decide to go off to college and we grieve our being away from our family. Whatever that change is, when we embrace that change, surrender to the process, and accept that it just is, when we're willing to do that and stop resisting, then we are free to have the best experience possible. If I go away to college and all I do is grieve being away from my family, I'm not going to experience college in the same way as other people. But if I can let go of all of that, and I can be fully present in the experience of college, then I'm going to have the best college experience I am capable of having, right? And that's why some people go off to college and have a blast, and other people go off to college and hate it. That's really the gist of it, is because they're in resistance to all the things they are missing rather than being present in the experience, knowing that every moment is a moment for, or an opportunity for pure joy, right? So can you do that with me this week? Can you practice surrender, practice non-resistance, non-attachment? Can you practice surrender, giving up resistance, and embracing the changes that are here? Can you do that with me this week? Let's have a prayer. So right now, I just tune into the awareness of God as simply all there is, all there ever has been, all there ever will be, and all there is right here, right now. I know that that's where I find myself, in the midst of God, my very essence, my very life, my very being. It is who and what I am. And every thought, every action, every deed is guided and led by that ancient wisdom of the ages that is God flowing through me. I know the same truth to be so for this awesome team of God that I get to work with. For Faith and for Lynn and for Tina and for Oz. For we are all one in God. And every action and every deed that we do as a team, our individual actions and our team actions, are all human doingness that needs to happen in order for God's message to come through clearly. We are all one. And the same is true for anyone who is tuning into this, whether it be in real time or later on. For there is no place where one leaves off and the other begins. We truly are just one being, one power, one life, one love. Metak Yoasin, we are all one. So this coming week I know is blessed with so many opportunities to see the good in everything. To know that any change that's coming will change us for the better. That we don't have to be afraid, that we can let go and let God. That we can surrender into the process, knowing that the process works. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith, I see the light. That is our week. I bless it and I call it good. And I know that for every name that is in the ministry of prayer this week, God is the answer to any situation we are experiencing. I just lift that veil right now to expose that truth underlying that situation. I pull it forth, I claim it in their names as good and very good. I bless it. I'm grateful for it. To know that it is done, to be of service in this way, and I just let it be. And so it is. Amen. Oh my goodness. All heck is breaking loose here. I don't know what's going on. The birds are screaming. The dogs are barking. It's all good. All right. This is our opportunity to receive your gifts, tithes, and offerings, and your opportunity to express your gratitude for that which you've already received and that which you have manifested in the mind of God but has not yet showed up in physical form. Please click on the please go to www.oasiscsl.org. Did she disappear? Oh, Faith is gone. All right. I know she put it in the comments. Oh, she's back. I know she put it in the comments, but now she'll put it on the screen for you. About 2/3 of the way down on that first page is our offering affirmation that we ask you to say with us. And then underneath that is the Contribute Now button. Let me talk a little bit about donate and contribute, because people get, aw, Angel Renee, she says, I hear my buddy. Yeah, she does. She wants a bird so bad. She wants Buddy, actually. No, you can't have Buddy. If I ever decide I need to get rid of him because of Lynn's lung issue, then you can come get him. I'm not going to Kentucky with him, but you can come here. So anyway, please go to oasiscsl.org, and about 2/3 down the page is our offering affirmation and the Contribute Now button. Donations are something you do like one time, like a political donation, or you gather up all your clothes and you take it somewhere and donate it off. Contributing is contributing to the message of God getting through. And in our case, we are definitely we want to be a global community. We pretty much are. We have people who tune in from India, from Holland, from all over the place. And so one of the things that when you contribute, what you're contributing to is our message getting out into the world. God's message getting out into the world. It's not my message. I'm just the channel through which it comes. So anyway, go to www.oasiscsl.org, about 2/3 of the way down the page. Whether you're listening to this in real time or watching this in real time, or you're watching it later, you can participate with us right now. Please say this with me. This perfect gift is spirit and form, blessing, circulating and blessing all it touches. Freely I give and joyously I receive, and so it is. My goodness. Now hit the contribute now button. For those of you who don't know, I did a memorial yesterday, and you know, I feel like I used up all my words yesterday. Something's just like hinky with me because I usually work on my sermons on Saturday. I don't usually go off and do stuff on Saturday. All right. So we have this wonderful ministry of prayer with our licensed practitioners. We call them the God Squad. We have licensed practitioners from coast to coast who are praying on those requests every day for a week. So if you would like prayer, please put it in the comments section. If you don't want it to be public, you can direct message Faith or I, and we will make sure that it gets on this. We have a private Facebook group page where the God Squad comes to get all of the prayer requests for the week. And so either type it in the comments or send a direct message to Faith or I, and we'll make sure it gets on that page so that the God Squad can work on it. Our practitioner of the day is the Wise and Powerful Oz, which means he's available for what we call our 1 minute miracle. It's a time where you can share with him whatever challenge you're experiencing, and he will stop, drop, and pray with you right then and there. And he'll do that through video chat. So you can reach out to him through video chat. Bob Oswald, in case you don't know. I think she's got it up there on the comments. If you call him and he's not available right away, it's probably because he's talking to someone else. So wait a few more minutes and then get a hold of him again. Try to get a hold of him again. Also, our licensed practitioners are available by appointment for a fee for spiritual guidance. And so the way you do that is you reach out to them through their Facebook and arrange with them some form of payment, whether that's Cash App or Venmo or PayPal. We don't get involved in that. That's each practitioner does their own thing. And then they will set up a time for a video chat and they'll reach out to you at that appointed time. If you would like to serve on the Ministry of Prayer, our God Squad, and you're not a licensed practitioner, that's okay. What we can do, as long as you're willing to commit to positive affirmative prayer and doing that once a day for a week for every prayer request, and you're willing to hold those prayer requests in confidentiality, you can participate in our God Squad. So put yes in the comment field and Faith will add you to the God Squad on that private Facebook group page. And then if you would like to be in part of our online community, type more in the comments section and Faith will add you to our public facing group page on Facebook where you get the information before it goes public anywhere else. So anyway, all right, Brooks and Bailey. Let's see. And I actually have my bracelet on today. I don't know what happened last week. For some reason, I didn't do that. You can see this clasp. I love this clasp. I don't know if you can tell. There. Ooh, yeah. Finally, you get to see it. It works really good. Doesn't come off like some of the other ones. Anyway, she has handmade malas and bracelets, and the proceeds benefit Rocky Mountain Lab Rescue, a very worthy cause. You can get a hold of her at brooksandbailey0307@gmail.com. And then here's Faith.
And this is my metaphysical shop. We have new product on Friday, so keep your eye out all of this week. Starting tomorrow, we'll have a countdown and do some sneak peeks of all the new product. I have to finish that today, actually, so woo! But definitely keep your eye out. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook for those alerts. And then that new product will be on our website, themysticbrew.com, as well as our Etsy store. So definitely keep your eyes peeled.
Thank you, Faith. Yeah, here is one of her jars. This one's 15. This is an intention jar for abundance and prosperity. So definitely worth it. Check that out. All right. And then I want to acknowledge the two people that let us use their music every week. We really appreciate that. One is Reverend Fairy Elaine Silver. Her website doesn't work all the way, and she can't change it for some reason. So she can't add like Cash App or Venmo or whatever it is that she uses. And she travels all the time singing in different places. So you need to reach out to her through her email to find out how to pay for the CDs. She only sells the CDs. She doesn't sell songs. Karen Drucker, on the other hand, who's gifted us with her entire collection of 20 CDs to use every week, which we really appreciate. Her website does work, and you want to change that up there? Can you? Did you freeze up? I know it's in the comments section, even if you can't get it on the screen. Anyway, Karen Drucker sells by the song or by the CD. She also has songbooks, and some of those songbooks have American Sign Language, which is really awesome to be able to sign with the singing. Faith has used that a couple of times. And of course, check out our website at www.oasiscsl.org. There you will find, there's Karen Drucker's wife. There you will find all previous sermons on audio for years gone by. And for the last year and a half that we've been doing these lives, there are video sermons that you can check into. I'm a little behind on getting those up. YouTube does have them all under S. Tucker, and you can subscribe to our channel. Also, SoundCloud has our audios from all those years gone by. So check all that out. And then also it has information about our practitioners. So it's a great way to get to know our practitioners. Practitioners are wonderful people to get to know. It's always nice to have someone in your corner to pray for you. All right. This next song is such a great meme to close out the service with. Carry it with you in your heart. Sing it loud. Sing it proud. I am so blessed. Oop, where'd it go? It went away.
I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed.
And as I go into the week, I know that God has a perfect plan for this and for all things, and for each person and each situation. The big picture that God holds for my life and for your life is something that's beyond what we can conceive. But that conception is perfect and ideally designed for each and every one of us. I know these blessings unfold automatically, for God is all powerful and with us at all times. And I know that this is a blessing that happens for each and every one of us right here, right now. For that, I give great thanks, and I let it be so, and so it is.
And so it
Is.
is. Thank you so much for being here. We love you. Stay safe, wear a mask, get vaccinated. We will see you here next week and every week at 10:30 Mountain Time every Sunday morning. Bye for now. Namaste.